Hi there.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, it's a little dark in this room. Let me just turn on the light.
Oh, that's okay.
There we go.
Awesome.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me.
No problem. Thanks for the change. I just figured it might make sense. Just, our perspectives could be different. And so,
Absolutely.
hopefully it's okay.
It's no bother for me at all. So thank you so much.
Good.
I really appreciate it.
Good.
Yeah, not at all. I'm just glad to talk with anybody. And we haven't met yet. So it's nice to meet you virtually.
Yes. And of course, I'm Brenda. I'm Rocky's wife.
Awesome. You know what? Actually, I do think we might have met. I think you used to host the Christmas party, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
I think we came one time, but there were probably 1,000 people. So.
Well, yeah, the Christmas parties were great fun, but there was a lot of people, and I always felt like every year there were new people I didn't recognize,
right.
And it was always an exercise in trying to remember everyone's name.
Right, which then ends up not being as fun.
Right. No, we always had fun. We really loved doing it. We did it for, 10 or 12 years.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
Wow.
It was fun.
That's great. So just to give you a little bit of a background on what this podcast is, it's called Firewives. It came about, so Robbie, my husband, he was listening to a podcast called Getting Salty, I think. Okay. And it's about firefighters, I guess. And they had interviewed this woman who was a fire spouse, but her husband died in a fire. And I guess the story was just so great. He really loved hearing her talk. So he said, hey, you should do that and interview other firewives. And initially I was kind of resistant a little bit because I'm like, I'm barely even on social media. Like, that's just not really me. He's like, but it's not about you. It's about the other people you'd be interviewing. And I'm like, you know what? Good point. That's true. Yep. So kind of brought this about. I really appreciate meeting with you. I'm going to start by having you introduce yourself.
Okay. So my name is Brenda Franciose. I live here in Natick. My husband is a retired fire captain, Natick Fire Department. He's been, we've both actually been retired now about almost 8 years. So it's been a little while.
Yeah.
And Rocky is a lifelong Natick resident. He's lived here we joke how he's lived in the same 1 mile radius his whole life. I came to live here when I married Rocky 30 years ago. So,
wow, 30 years, that's a long time.
Yep, it's our hometown now.
Nice. That's great. And what about you? You said you're retired. What did you retire from?
So I was the VP of Human Resources for a private equity firm in Boston. So I ran their human resources for the whole company. We had offices in Boston, California, London. Right around the time that I was retiring, we opened an office in Luxembourg. So I didn't have a whole lot to do with that. It's a very small office. But yeah, so I did that for 12 years.
Wow. That sounds like a very high level, high stress job.
It was, it was higher level and it was stressful. But you know what? It was a great job. It was a great company, very good to their employees. And so it was a great opportunity for me when it arrived, and, it did well by me, and I think I did a good job for them.
I'm sure that you did. Wow. So it sounds like you liked it.
I did like it. There were times when I didn't like it, like any jobs, and there were some really, really stressful periods with some significant things that, went on. But you know what? It was great. I learned so much. The people were great. I still keep in contact with a lot of them. Several of them are my friends. So yeah, it was a great job. It was a great opportunity. I appreciated that they trusted me.
Wow. That's really nice. It's nice to be able to look back on it in a positive light, even if there was some stress. And what job doesn't have some stress sometimes?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Wow. Now I'm seeing from the photos behind you, it looks like you have kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about them.
2 grown kids. They're Rocky's stepchildren, my children. They're in their 40s.
Wow.
And we have 6 grandchildren.
That's lovely.
So our oldest grandchild graduated from high school in June and joined the Army. So he's in training right now.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So, and then the others range from 10 to almost 17.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Goes by fast. How old are yours, if you don't mind my asking? I know
Not
it's
at all.
old.
No, I have a 4-year-old who, the old saying, 4 going on 40 or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
She's got a very big personality. She's super awesome. And we have a 5-month-old now.
Oh,
And,
wow.
yep.
So it goes by so fast. Enjoy every minute.
That's what I've been told. That I always try to remind myself of that expression, the days are long, but the years are short. And even
Yes.
already now she's 4 and we're talking about kindergarten in the fall. And I don't even know how. I don't know how.
I know. It's crazy. It goes by really fast.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah. So now you mentioned that you were a VP at the equity firm. Is that what you've been doing since you met Rocky, or what were you doing at the time when you first got together?
So when Rocky and I met, I was working in a real estate office. Prior to that, I had been in a separate company, had been managing some income property, and I left that and I went to work for a company called Post Road Realty in West End. And I worked there, was part-time. It was kind of school hours because Michael and Stephanie, my children, were, 8 and 10 at the time. So it worked out really well. And so I did that for 4 or 5 years. And then I got a job at Natick High School in the athletic department and working for the then athletic director, Paul Peters. And I worked there for 5 years. It was a really fun job. It was school year job, school hours, summer was off. So it worked really well. Rocky and I were married by then, and he was on the fire department. So gave us a lot of flexibility to do some other things on his days off if he wasn't doing his other job. So,
right. Yeah.
So I did that. And then after when Stephanie was at the high school and she was a junior, that's when I didn't move out of that job because of that, but another opportunity came along. The kids were older. Mike was in college. It was like, I don't need to work school year anymore. I can kick that up a notch, so to speak. And then that was my sort of slow progression into human resources. So I got a job at a company called Watson Wyatt, which is a consulting firm, and met some great people there, was a supervisor, and they spun off into another company. It's sort of something like that, where they, you just keep taking the next step and you move up and you get more responsibility. And along the way, met great people who trusted me and encouraged me and, gave me a lot of confidence. And so I moved there, worked there for maybe 6 or 7 years. And that's when I got my job at the private equity firm in Boston. Mm-hmm. And the rest, as they say, is history. It was a big step for me, and it paid off, so to speak. I think I did really well, and I really loved it there. And, there were days I didn't, as we said.
Right,
there were days I'd come home and I'd say, oh, my God, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Right. But you get through it and you move on, and I'm really glad I did, because in hindsight, it just it changed our lives in a lot of ways. And so it was... but it was also a great experience, and I met some really great people, and that's the best part. It's kind of like the fire department.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, so Rocky was already a firefighter when you met?
Yes. When I met Rocky, he was a lieutenant, he was just sitting for the captain's exam. Wow. So by the time we got married, he was a captain. Mm-hmm. So, and then he was on a shift. When I met him, he was at Station 4. Oh, wow. The old Station 4.
Okay, I don't think I ever saw
really
that
old
one.
Station 4.
Uh-huh.
And he was there for a few years. Then he was downtown for a couple of years, and then he took what do they call it? Fire safety. I don't know what they call it now, but we call it fire inspection, or the fire. Where he's going out doing all the inspections. Yeah, it was a fun time because that was back when they were doing the mall.
Okay,
he spent a lot of time at the mall, working with Maurice Paulette, who sadly passed away not too long ago. Oh. And he did that, and he was doing that right up until he retired. So I'd say the last 10 or 15 years maybe of his fire department career, he was in what we called the office, working in, fire safety and inspection, and spent a lot of time at the mall. He had in more than one version of the mall, right?
Because yeah, it's a very different mall now than it was a long time ago. That's right.
For sure. So, and a different perspective for him. But he was like, I want to be home more. It was as you probably know, the office roles in the fire department, for him, it was a Monday through Thursday
Okay.
role. And, he would go in at 7 and he'd be home at 5 or something like that.
Right.
So it was a much more normal working hours. And, he had done, I'm not sure is Rob on a regular shift?
Yeah, he is. He's a lieutenant now.
Oh, great.
And he sat for the captain's exam, but as you know, obviously the spots are limited right now, so I'm not sure that this is going to be the round for him, but he'll take it every 2 years. He's young. I keep telling him, you've got so much time to keep doing that, so he'll keep trying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which is
good.
For
sure. So he felt like, he had been on a shift long enough, and he was ready to have more regular hours and, be home at night when I'm home, because, now I'm working in a job that's really long hours, so that there would be days where if he was on a 24, it started out, I'm not sure when Rob got on, but it started out, it was you worked 2 days and 2 nights.
Yes, I was speaking to Karen Forens last time,
yes.
And she told me the same thing. Tommy was working, so it was 2 days on, 2 nights on, but they weren't a full 24-hour shift.
Correct. They were 12-hour shifts.
12-hour shifts. Now they're full 24. So he gets there at 8 a.m. and he leaves at 8 a.m. the next day, and it's rotating.
Yes. So then they went to 24-hour shifts. So it was sort of a lifestyle change, I guess, if you want to put it that way, where it was more like, he wanted to be home at night with the family and the kids before they went off to college and all of that, and be off on the weekends when I was off, because I would leave for work at 6:30 in the morning and not get home till 6:30 at night. So he, if he was working on a shift, there would be a couple days in a row where we wouldn't even, see each other, wouldn't see the kids. So
yeah, we just had that. Robbie was away for a 36-hour shift, and then because he took overtime, and then he went straight to class, so I didn't actually see him for 48 hours pretty much. And
that's even harder when the children are as young as yours, right?
And it's not unusual for something like that to happen, it's just part of the life.
Exactly. So, and I think he was really glad that he made that change. It worked well for him. He liked being in the office. He liked being out and meeting the people at the mall and doing the inspections, and not just the mall, but other buildings as well, and homes and all of that. So he really enjoyed that. And as I said, he did that right up until he retired.
That's great. It's a good way to end the career, although I'm sure it was tough to decide that. What made him finally decide?
I think he was, he had been on at that point for, I don't know, almost 20 years. And I think, it was, okay, I've done it. I enjoyed it, but I'm ready now. I'm ready. My body's ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a hard job.
It is a hard job.
That's right.
And it's a hard job when you're even when it was 12, 2 12s and 2 12s days and nights, it was a lot. But, working a 24-hour shift is a lot. And then, much like what Rob is doing, was just doing, as you said, and then you get an overtime shift, and, they have different rules for when you can take those. But it's just, it can be really hard. Absolutely. Really hard on the family, really hard on the body, all that kind of stuff.
That's right. Now, you mentioned Rocky has another job, or had. Is he fully retired now, or still doing his other job? He is
fully retired now. Early on, he hung wallpaper on the side. So he would, do his shifts, and then he'd go out and hang wallpaper wherever. And then, I don't know, it was maybe 5 or 6 years after we got married. It was like, you don't have to do that anymore if you don't want to. And I think he was glad, because it was a lot. So, but that's what he did.
I will say, though, I hear wallpaper's coming back. So maybe it's the wrong time to get out of the business.
That's okay. So it was a while ago that he stopped. He doesn't miss it at all.
Good.
But I can still rope him into doing some stuff in our own house.
That's great. Good. It's nice. I always joke that I married up because I break things and Robbie fixes them for me. So. Now, tell me, one of the kind of themes that I've been chatting with people about is, what does it mean to you to be a firewife?
Oh, boy. I don't even know how to explain it. So my brother was a firefighter.
Wow.
Out in California. So out there, you do both. You're a firefighter and you're a cop. And,
oh, really?
Mm-hmm. In the counties in which he worked anyway. Yes.
Wow.
And I remember
is it like one shift he's a firefighter, one shift he's a cop, or you're doing both simultaneously?
No, and I may not have this exactly right, but it's because he is now retired. But as I recall, the way it worked is I don't know if it was every 6 months or every year or whatever, the people in charge had the opportunity, had the right to move you. So maybe you spend 6 months in the firehouse, and then in the next round, 6 months as a police officer. But I believe as you gain seniority, you could change, right?
Interesting.
Or you could request, sorry. And then, as I recall, if you were a firefighter, if you were on duty as a police officer, you carried your fire gear in the truck, in your car, so that if there was a fire and they needed extra help, you could be called in.
Wow, that is very interesting, and must be really hard to like put your mindset into the job that you're in that day.
Yeah, so in the end, I would say for the last part of his career, he was mostly in the firehouse.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's, I like the family sense of being in the fire department, so when I joined, I didn't know anybody. And then slowly we still have very close friends in the fire department. I think you're going to talk to Kathy and Mike Lentini, two of our best friends. Rick and Lori White, you probably know Rick White was the chief. Also two of our closest friends. And you may or may not know this, but Rick and Rocky are cousins.
Oh, I did not know that.
They are. I think it's actually second cousins, but they're second cousins, and they joined the fire department on the same day, and they retired on the same day.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's amazing.
And I think that happened more by accident,
right?
On purpose, but
they probably couldn't have planned it if they tried.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
So I know Chief White was the chief, kind of the first real chief when Robbie got on, because he got on right as they were kind of shifting to him.
Yes, right. So I would say for me, it's not about really being that I'm the wife of a firefighter. Of course, very proud, you probably also know Rocky's brother is a retired firefighter. But it's just, being part of that family and the part of the group of people who really want to be there helping other people who, not to sound dramatic about it, but who, do literally run into burning buildings to save people, pets, and sometimes even belongings.
Right. I don't think that's dramatic at all. That's exactly what they do.
So, that takes a special person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the men and women in the Natick Fire Department are all, very special and hardworking, and they truly care. So being part of that is really important to me. And I think, and special to me is what I would say. So, I mean, I'm not sure I've answered your question adequately, but I guess that's,
No, I think you have. I mean, it's lovely. It's really beautiful to be part of that. And even though it doesn't, I never really thought of it this way, but in my conversations with some of the fire spouses, we are contributing, right? By taking on some of the responsibilities that they can't have while they're working, we're doing some community service as well, which is kind of nice.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It is it can be a very different way to live, right? Because you don't, if you're, if you're a quote regular person whose husband has a regular job,
right,
it's very different.
Absolutely.
And as you said, you have to be ready at the drop of a hat, whether, they get held for overtime or they get called for overtime or there's some kind of an emergency or they just have to work to be able to pick up the slack, so to speak.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where on the other side of that, I feel super lucky that their schedule is so flexible in some ways because, like, for example, tomorrow our daughter's school just had an emergency closure. I guess they're having like a burst pipe or something.
Oh, geez.
And I just was so thankful that Robbie's not on shift tomorrow because I don't have to call out of work, right? Because you expect that that's what you're going to have to do. But on the other side of it, it's nice that they can be helpful when they're home, which is amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
I agree.
Now, tell me what I like to ask about your favorite part and your least favorite part of being a fire spouse.
So, my least favorite part? Hmm.
Or maybe the hardest part. Doesn't have to be least favorite, like you didn't like
Well,
it.
I think, the hardest part would be that if you spend a lot of time thinking about it every day, you're worrying all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I honestly did not do, which probably sounds strange, but you just get into this kind of routine of like, well, is it work, right? You don't
Right.
spend a lot of time thinking about the details of what might be happening in that moment or
I don't
that
think
kind
that's
of
bad
thing.
at all. Everybody has said the same exact thing. I think you have to be able to put it away.
Right. And then my favorite thing is probably the people, the whole, as we already talked about, sort of the whole family kind of fire department family, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that if you needed something, someone will come and help you, right? That's just the way it is.
Right.
And I think that one of the reasons why we started the whole party thing was it was a way to for the fire. They get so close to the people on their shift, right?
Right.
But there's a whole other group out there, and a whole lots of them actually that you don't get to see, especially as a spouse. But even when Rocky was in the office, you don't get to see on a regular basis. And this was a chance to have people just come to the house and everybody get together, and it would be packed in here, but it was so much fun. If
Right.
you came to one, hopefully you had a good time.
Oh, we had a great time. I don't know why I didn't come to more. It might have been just when we first got married or something like that. But I remember
Yeah,
that
or he
first
was
one.
working, right? Because
Or
that was
that.
the other thing.
Yep.
We also tried to not schedule the parties on the same shift every year, just because there was a whole group who couldn't come, and some people would take vacation time, and some. So it was the whole family, fire department family atmosphere that I really liked. So yeah, and we missed that, a little bit. We had a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I think it was right after COVID, we had another little party, right? We invited a fair amount of people. It wasn't the entire fire department, I don't think, because we didn't know everybody. It was more recent retirees, people, and it was fun, but we knew even fewer people than before.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So,
They change. I mean, every time I go visit Robbie at the firehouse, it's somebody new and somebody I haven't met, which is weird because he's been on for I think 12, 13 years. But it's like a
that's what
revolving
happens.
door. Yeah.
When we started, we joke sometimes when I married Rocky, we were like the new kids on the block. And then when he retired, we were the old kids on the
Right.
block.
But how beautiful is that? You start to finish, how amazing is
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
It was a good run. It was fun. It was
I
really fun.
remember one of the firefighter wives said to me when she first, it was right after we got married. She said she almost watched us grow up because she met me and us because we already knew each other when he got on Native.
Yep.
We were young and we're still young, but we've changed
Yep.
and got married and had kids. And she's like, I've watched you grow up. You were a baby and now you're a grown up. I'm like, that's true.
Yes.
It's sweet.
It's true.
Absolutely.
It is true. Yep. It really is true. I mean, Rocky, we were there when Gigi, who just retired, was first hired, the first woman on the fire department.
Unbelievable.
That was a hoot.
Yeah.
So
That's
fun.
right. Yeah. I'm hoping to talk to her. She agreed, but we need to set a date. She's just a little busy with the retirement stuff now, but
yeah. Oh, she's a great person to talk to about this stuff.
And she has a unique position of being a firefighter and a fire wife, right? So I'm super interested to hear what she has to say.
I mean, many. So a firefighter, a fire wife, first woman firefighter on the department,
and she's a veteran.
And she's a vet, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Right?
Great.
Yeah. So tell me if there's been a way that you can think of, how has Rocky being a firefighter impacted your marriage?
I would say, and not in any kind of negative way, other than the initial just adjusting to the schedules, which of course was new for me, not new for him.
Right.
Adjusting with the schedule, getting the, he had obviously integrated with my two kids, but then the schedule. So it was just getting in the groove of sort of a different way of life. if that makes any sense.
Of course. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
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 It can be tough. It can take a toll in a way, but to your point, it's such an honor that you almost kind of make up for it. And it's okay in the end. It's just hard.
Exactly. And and I can't even say that it was hard. It was just an adjustment, right? That you just do. So that's what we did. It was an adjustment when I took the job at the private equity firm in Boston, and wasn't working because all my other roles were sort of closer to home, and now I'm leaving because it's the commute to Boston and home.
Woof, yeah.
So it was kind of like sort of a reverse of him picking up the slack now, because I'm in a job with longer roles. And so it'd be like, okay, what am I getting at the grocery store today? And what, kind of throwing the laundry in and those kinds of things. So, but, it wasn't anything that I look back on. There isn't anything that I look back on and say, wow, that was really just a huge adjustment.
Right. Wow, that's nice. That's good. You were able to make it work pretty easily.
He tried.
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough, but I'm glad it worked well. What do your kids do?
Okay, so my daughter is in financial services, insurance and financial services, investments, that kind of thing. She lives in North Carolina, and she has 4 children. Her youngest 2 are twin girls, so that's fun. Nice. But they're all grown up now, but, high school. So, and then my son is the CFO of a energy company in Connecticut. And so my son majored in quantitative economics.
I don't even know what that means. That sounds very smart.
That's why it's really hard to explain what he does.
Right.
But the way I explain it is he basically buys and sells energy is the way I would explain it, right? It sort of deals. He does those kinds of deals as a CFO, and his company is owned by a private equity firm, not the one I worked for, totally separate. So, yeah, and they live in Connecticut in Fairfield, and they have 2 children. So everybody's busy, but they were all here for Thanksgiving. So we had everybody here, except for Jack, because he's stationed in Georgia. Right. But everybody else was here. It was crazy 4 days, but it was lots of fun.
Wow. And you're no stranger to hosting after those Christmas parties.
No. But I'll tell you what, the older you get, the harder it is.
I'm sure. I'm actually not struggling. That's not the right word. But right now, hosting I normally love to host. But right now, I'm like, with 2 young kids, it's actually really hard.
It's really hard when you have young kids. Yeah. And it's a lot of work no matter when you do it. Now we have Rocky's family, his siblings and everything coming this week for sort of our holiday get together, because we're leaving to go to Stephanie's. We're going to North Carolina for Christmas.
Oh, that's lovely. That's great.
So we're going down there.
Now, did I hear correctly that you spend some time in Florida too, or am I mistaken?
Nope, that's true. We have a house in Florida, which we bought a couple years ago. And so we're this year. Usually we go down in January after New Year's. This year, though, because we're going to Stephanie's and we have a dog, so we drive to Steph's, we decided we're just going to keep going. So we'll be in Florida the day after Christmas. So we're going to leave, because Steph and the family are going on a trip in between Christmas and New Year's. So we'll have Christmas with them, and then we'll leave the day after Christmas, and it's like a 7-hour ride from Stephanie's to the house in Florida. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
So that's our plan.
So what are you doing with your time now that you're retired?
Well, we're trying to play golf.
Nice.
Rocky's better at it than I am, but our house in Florida is on a golf course, and we joined the golf club there. So we're spending a lot of time playing golf, and we've just kind of so I'm also a big Pilates girl. Oh, nice. So I have found my place down there. So I do that, and the gym, and then the beach is nearby, and it's a great little neighborhood we live in. It's Kathy and Mike also have a house down there in the same neighborhood. So we laugh because they live the same distance from us in Florida as they do here in Natick. Wow. But, they're right down the street from us in Natick.
Did you guys plan that?
No, they actually introduced us to the area because Mike's family had a house there, and we used it and then rented it for a little bit. And then we said to them, hey, we really like it down here, and do you mind?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to invade your territory, so to speak, And they were like, no, do whatever you want. So we bought a house. So we bought the house, and yeah, we really like it there.
That's great.
It's really good. Yeah.
That's great.
You know, who knows how long you can do that kind of commuting, but
Right.
we're going to do it as long as we can.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're happy
How long?
there.
How long will you spend there, you think? Like, what's a typical Florida trip for you?
So typical would be, so we're going obviously right after Christmas, and we will come back in probably early May.
Wow, nice. That's great.
So depending, sometimes it gets super hot there and humid early, but usually it's early to mid-May.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so nice. What is that called? A snowbird? Is that the term for it?
Yes, we are snowbirds.
Did you ever think you'd be a snowbird?
Never. Never. No. But I also can't ever see myself living there year round. It's just so hot
Super
and humid
hot
in the summer. It's just it's too much.
Yeah. I've been to Florida a couple times in the summer, and it's yucky.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're just spending all your energy just trying to breathe.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't think I asked you, how did you and Rocky meet?
Rocky and I met on a blind date.
No kidding.
Yeah, we did. So years ago, there was a woman that we both knew. So in his wallpapering gig, a lot of his jobs came through decorators.
That makes sense.
There was a decorator he knew, who I also happened to know because our daughters went to school together. And we were friendly acquaintances. We weren't like super close or best friends or anything. And we were at back to school night, and she said, Brenda, this guy, I think you'd really like him. Can I give him your number? I'm like, absolutely not.
No, thank you.
No, I don't do blind dates. You can just forget that. Cross it right off your list. And then, of course, meanwhile, later on, I find out he was having similar conversations with her. And she was just relentless. I mean, every time I saw her, she would be like, Bennett, I'd be like, no. And then, I don't know, one day I just got so sick of it. I was like, sure, yeah, fine, I give. I cried uncle.
Right,
So
right.
And she gave him my number, and, I forgot about it. And because 2 months went by, and then you'll appreciate this because you have young kids, but Michael and Stephanie weren't as young as yours, but they were, elementary school, and it was 6:00, which is the worst time of night you can ever call anybody in.
Right.
And you'll laugh. It was back in the days when the telephones actually hung on the wall and they had a really long cord.
Mm-hmm.
And so the phone rings, and I pick it up, and I'm like, because I'm totally harried, and I'm like, hello? And this guy on the other end says, hi, this is Rocky Franciose. And as soon as I was like, oh, God.
What did I get myself into?
Yeah. And so funny part is, he called in October, but our first date wasn't until December because he was studying for the captain's exam.
Oh, wow. And
then I was a single parent at the time, and I was juggling the kids' schedule with their dad, and I didn't date if I had the kids. It just was my thing, I wasn't doing that, right? So it was like, well, no, I can't do this weekend. Well, I can't do that weekend because I'm working. Well, no, I can't. And so we ended up, I think it was, I know exactly what it was. It was December 3rd, 1993.
Wow, today's December 4th.
I know.
Wow.
Yep. So we went out, and the rest, as they say, is history, because we had the first date, and a week later we had the second date, and it just kind of went on like that.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be, neither one of us was interested in any kind of serious relationship. Just nice to have someone to have dinner with was what it was. And well, here we are. It's been 30 years.
Here you are, snowbirds together.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. That's great. That's a nice story.
Yeah, it is a nice story.
I feel like you don't hear about blind dates so much anymore.
No, and
I guess
it
online
was my
dating
first
is
and only blind date.
Right,
so,
right. I have so many
funny.
friends that I wanted to set up on blind dates, and I really think they all would have gotten married, but not a single one of them agreed. Like, you're lost.
You know why you don't really, I guess technically you do have blind dates a lot, because you go with the match and all these websites are, that's kind of the same thing, except you're getting all your information from a database.
Right. So. I feel like real blind dates are a little less sketchy.
Yeah, those creepy. Are, yes. Yeah. Well, the other funny part about it is we had this blind date, and this is something that I think most people wouldn't do now. I'd never met him before, and I let him come to my house and pick me up.
Really?
What was I thinking?
I don't know. I was going to say. But times were different. It wasn't, nothing was as scary or creepy, I feel like.
Yeah, but there was also sort of a weird connection we discovered afterwards, and a couple of things, and probably going way off on a tangent.
No, I love it. I love it.
That I had a really close friend, and I was talking to her one day about going on this blind date, and she was not happy. And she's like, I don't understand. What do you even know about this man? And I said, well, I know he lives in Natick. He's a firefighter. He hangs wallpaper on the side. And she says, is his name Rocky Franciose? I'm like, yeah. So it turned out she had a best friend that I knew of but had never met who was married to Rocky's cousin.
Wow.
And that woman actually also became a very close friend. So
wow.
it was a funny story. And then we also discovered in our conversations, as part of his wallpapering gig, I had lived in a particular house in Weston and moved to a different one. And he had gone in and wallpapered that house after we moved out.
Wow.
To the new owners. It's just weird stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's funny. I always say it's a small world that you just don't think you're going to have these connections with people, but if you dig, you'll find them.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's our little story.
Wow. That's a very nice story. Thank you for sharing it.
No problem.
That's great. Any funny stories? Any tidbits you want to share?
Oh boy, the funniest story I don't think we can put in a podcast.
You'd be surprised. It's a podcast. It's not a PG show.
Well, the funniest is, I obviously wasn't there, but they had a call at a house on Route 9, and there was like heavy smoke in the basement. And as smoke began to clear, let's just say as the smoke began to clear, there was a lot of equipment and paraphernalia that apparently the husband and the wife enjoyed together.
No.
They talked about that for a long time.
I can only imagine the jokes that came out of that.
Oh, can you? Isn't it true?
Oh my goodness. Gosh. Wow.
Yeah, that was a funny one.
Yeah.
But
did you find it to be a rude awakening, the firefighter sense of humor compared to yours, or were you kind of already equipped for that?
Not really, because, my brother and...
Oh, right, yeah.
And all of that, but I will tell you, as I got deeper into human resources, my head spun once in a while.
I know. I hear some stories where I'm like, oh, that would not fly well in a pediatrics office. That's where I work. That would not go.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Or... You do know what I do for a living, right?
Maybe keep these things to yourself.
Yeah, no.
That's great.
Nothing terrible, but as you know, you've heard them, so
yeah. Exactly. All right. Now, one last question that I like to ask everybody. I guess kind of a two-pronged question. If you were going to listen to this podcast, what would you want to hear? Or if you were kind of new coming into the fire spouse thing, what would you want to hear? What advice do you have or anything like that?
So I think the biggest piece of advice I would give is really lean into the firefighter community. It really helps. Don't be afraid to go to some of the activities that they have and introduce yourself, because you're not alone. There's men and women of varying age groups that are in the exact same position that you're in. And I think, having that support and just knowing that there are people in the same boat, if you've had a day or 48 hours like you've had on your own with the two kids, you can call a friend and, have someone over for coffee to help the time go by or whatever it is. But I think leaning into the community and getting involved in little ways as you can. So for us, it was... we volunteered for different things when they came up, like helping set up a Christmas party when they were not at our house.
Right.
The children's party. And Rocky would go out and volunteer with the guys when they would do the boot collections,
Nice.
So I would just say to lean into your fire department community because it really helps.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it is. I hope it
Absolutely.
is. But
No, it is. It is. Anything else on your mind? Anything you'd want to add?
I don't think so. I think that it was a great experience. I think Rocky, really enjoyed it. I think he was ready when he hit 65.
Yeah.
It was time. And, I think that I know some of the guys aren't ready, right? At 65, they could do it forever. But I think he was ready. And it's a honorable and I think a very rewarding thing to do.
Absolutely. 100%. We recently went to a retirement party. I wonder if you were there and we maybe just didn't chat.
We have not been to one recently.
Oh, okay. So it was for Willie. And
okay, I totally lied. Yes, we were at Willie's.
So we happened to just not chat at the time, but I guess we were at the same party. And it was just so nice because Robbie was just telling me Willie was like the life of the fire department. He just was he had the best attitude and he was so sad to go. And I love my job. I'm by no means do I not like my job, but I would love to have that just passion that he has for the fire department. If only we were all so lucky.
I think that for the men and women who are the firefighters, not the spouses of firefighters, it's their second family.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's for Willie, who is one of those who would have kept working if he could.
Right,
right. It's like leaving behind another family, and that's really hard to do. So I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to speak in person at Willie's.
I know. Honestly, I wasn't even doing this yet, so I was just kind of, like you said, don't be afraid to introduce yourself, but also catching up with people that I kind of knew. Right. But now next time we'll know each other.
Yes, we will.
Exactly.
Yes, we will. Exactly. Well, I hope I do get a chance to see you in person.
Thank you. Same to you. I hope you have a good time in Florida.
Thank you. Thank you. And happy holidays.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All righty. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions for me or you'd like to be interviewed for the Firewives podcast, please email me at thefirewivespodcast@gmail.com. Tune in next week for more Firewives.